so how is it that you actually go and you make these powerful shifts in whether it's your relationship, your finances, or anything else? It comes down to changing the emotional imprint or the emotional reaction that you're creating in other people. So here's the question that I have for you. When you speak to people, are they drawn back to you? Or is it like they are pushed away from you? Now, this is a hard acid test, okay? And this is my acid test for knowing whether or not you're creating the results that you want in life or whether you're creating something else. Let's say that you're in a coaching business. When people come in for a first session or a consult, do they come back for a second visit? If you're teaching classes out in the community, when you teach a class, do people come back or do people walk away? If you're in a business where you're in a sales business, do customers come back for repeat business or do customers go away? Do you find people continually dropping out of the things that you're promoting? If you do, your energetic thumbprint per se is actually creating a push away experience. Using verbal creation strategies, using affirmations, using words of power to generate new emotional states in your own being is a powerful way of shifting your way from repeller of people into attractor of people. And this has been one of the most powerful strategies that I've used. Again, personal relationship with wife. I've used it with relationships with my kids. I've used it with money stuff, and I've used it with my weight, and I have experienced massive transformation. And again, the source of this is the Judeo-Christian Bible. So we're going to be, without preaching a sermon, that's not what this is about. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to share with you some of the creation strategies, that come out of the Judeo-Christian Bible. Again, not as a religion, but as a strategy for using affirmations. So we're going to go right into the first couple verses of the Bible here, and we're just going to read what it says. And I want you to think about it from an affirmation-based strategy, or from a strategy of being able to put out these energy shifters or emotional state changers that allow you to create results. So here's what it says right in the beginning. It says, "Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the watery depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters." So in this first scene, the picture that I have here is I have this picture of a being over this formless, voidless space, and looking at the canvas that's going to be painted on. And so step one, really, if we're looking at this as a metaphor for creation, or as a metaphor for change, and again, I'm switching between two cameras here. As we look at this as a metaphor for creation or a metaphor for change, the very first step is to back up, to hover over the thing that you want to create, and just to fully consider it. And so the first question that I have for you today is, what is it that you are actively creating in your life? Are you wanting to create a deeply intimate relationship with a lover, with a partner? Are you looking at creating a closer connection with your kids? Are you looking at transforming your health, like I talked about at the beginning of the live cast, where I lost all the weight that I lost, where I transformed my body and my eating behaviors based on these strategies? But the first thing to do is to back up, to get some space from what you're doing, and to take a good look at what it is that you want to create. And the very next thing that comes out of here, and this comes from the next space, is it says, so the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Now notice how the phrase, again, if we're taking it as an act of an act of creation or an act of affirmation, how is the affirmation spoken? It was spoken present tense. It was spoken with a power little snippet, right? It wasn't like a long convoluted thing. It was, let there be light. And we can take this and we can use these two steps in generating our own affirmation-based strategy. It's the oldest text that I know about that talks about affirmations. If there might be something in the Bhagavad Gita that is equally as old. Maybe I'll talk about that in another live cast. But when you look at these two principles from a creation space, then if you want to use your words to create, how is it that you do that? Short, simple statements, present tense, in positive. So let me give you an example for my weight loss journey. So last year, like I talked about, I lost or I transformed my body weight more than 50 pounds, and I'm still down right around the 50-pound mark. And one of the things that I did is I would step back from my current situation, right? This is hovering over the surface of the deep. And I would look at what it is that I wanted to create. And what I wanted to create is I wanted to create at first a 1 pound change inside of my weight. So I weighed 227.2 pounds. I wanted to move from 227 down to 226.2. That doesn't seem like a big shift, but for me, it was a huge shift. It was a shift in direction because for the previous almost 10 years, my weight had steadily gone up. My belly had steadily gotten bigger. My pants had gotten tighter. I don't know about you guys, but I would go through these denials where I would not want to buy the next pair of pants. And so I would in the morning have to fight with the belt buckle until the belt buckle finally would barely hold together, and there was just incredible pressure and tension. I was always afraid that the button was going to go zinging off into the distance. But I wanted to reverse the trend. And so a 1 pound reverse in trend is what I wanted. So I stepped back from my situation. I hovered over the surface of the deep, so to speak, and I looked at what I wanted to create, and I started to speak it, because we can create a result with our mouth before we create it with our body. And in this case, I simply started to speak. I easily weigh 226.2 pounds. I easily weigh 226.2 pounds. I easily weigh 226.2 pounds, creating it first with the mouth. Now, what's important in this creation process? Maybe someday we will have the incredible ability to actually speak and have light generated out from us. But today, the first step in generating a change for most of us is to change the emotional state that we're in around the change. And just like the great creator spoke and light poured forth from him, we break forward with light in the emotional imprint that comes out from us. Now, here's an interesting thing, and there's been research around this. Some people, when they make affirmations, they don't generate positive light. They don't generate positive energy. For some people, and this is a warning, for some people, when they share an affirmation, when they make their affirmative statement, it will actually tank out their energy. It'll tank out their emotion. It'll tank out the way they feel, and you'll see people actually emotionally collapse by stating positive things. If you've been in an exceptionally negative headspace for a long time, you might need another creation strategy, or you might need to do one of the modifications that I'm going to share with you here in just a minute. But for a lot of us, if we claim something powerful, if we claim something grand, if we claim where we're going, it starts to shift up our emotional energy, and we start to feel different. Now, one of the things I want to point out, and this is every time I do a demonstration, I will demonstrate this in front of an audience, and I'll have people do their affirmations, or I'll have people do their word creation in a couple of different ways. One way is to take your body language and to let your body language just totally sink down and collapse. and try it. Like let's say that you're trying to transform your marriage situation, and your marriage isn't going that well. You're fighting a lot, or maybe you're fighting a lot with one of your kids or something like that, or maybe you're having a hard time with a coworker or something like that. And so you want to start to speak this new direction in your life, but just try speaking it like all collapse down, hunch your shoulders, look down. Right, I've got two cameras just to remind you guys. I'm looking at both of you. But you look down and you say, I have happiness in my relationship. And you do it with kind of a down voice. It's like, how much does that change the emotional space that you're in? Does it change it a lot? Or does it change it nary at all? Because the key to changing with an affirmation, or the key to changing with a spoken word, is to change the way you feel. And so if you speak with a collapsed body language, if you speak with your shoulders hunched, if you speak looking down, if you speak, hanging down, looking at your toes, looking at the ground, you are unlikely to change the way you feel, and you are unlikely to get any kind of result through speech. Now, I've dedicated a whole CD to affirmation-based strategies, and there's a link to that CD in the description, or for those of you watching on YouTube, there's a button down below, and that button will take you right to the word CD. 55 minutes of some of the most powerful training on affirmations that I've seen anywhere. But I'm going to give you as much as I can here while we're hanging out. And I've got to go run for the airport here and sometime in the next 40 minutes or so. So we'll at least chat for a minute, and we'll go through it. But we've already gone through a couple of principles, right? So the first thing you do is you step back, you look at your life, you hover over the surface of the deep, and then you speak a short, punchy sentence that describes what it is that you want, right? In the creation story out of the Bible, God said, "Let there be light." Notice he did not say, "I don't want dark anymore," right? He didn't say, "Hey, it's dark around here. Who turned off the lights?" It was a short, simple statement, "Let there be light." So positive, present tense, short, and focused, and punchy, okay? Second thing we talked about body language. Notice that when your body language is collapsed, you don't create much energy with your statements. On the other hand, if you sit up straight, if you get good posture, if you hold your chin up, right? Notice the difference between a chin up and a chin down. Okay, I'm not talking ridiculous. I'm just talking just a little bit up above level. Shoulders back, chest out, sitting up straight. Let there be light. I now weigh 226.2 pounds. That's where I started. I actually lost 4 pounds that week, which is more than I recommend. I wasn't even trying to do it. I was claiming 226.2, wasn't weighing myself, and then came back to the scale, and I was down 4 pounds. That's probably because I went from being like super unhealthy to finally eating healthy, and my body readjusted. After that, I claimed movement in 1 to 2 pound increments until I had lost 50 pounds, and I spoke it 2 pounds at a time. Okay, so we've got body language, we've got short, positive, punchy, present tense. Not only body language, but what we're really after here is we're after moving energy. Think about it like waves of light bursting out from you. That's the image that I hold inside of me. And so if I want to make an affirmation work well with myself or with a client, they got to put some energy behind it. Now, will affirmations work if somebody mumbles them? Maybe. But where I've really seen them take off, where I've really seen them have power, where I've really seen people make very, very fast turnarounds, is by shifting the emotional state. Beliefs are state dependent. When somebody's energy collapses and they drop down into a depression, they lose access to all the positivity that's been in their brain. And for those of you that have worked with people, and I don't work with depression, but I've had friends, right? But when you see somebody who works into depression, what's one of the things you notice? It's like they can't remember any happiness. They lose access to memories. They lose access to self-talk. They lose access to beliefs. This work comes from Jay Haley's work on state-dependent learning theory. That literally the parts of the neural network that light up when you're in different emotional states give you access to different memories, different beliefs, and different resources. So if you want to believe something more, if you want to have a friendlier emotional imprint about you, when you speak your affirmations, speak it with power. I imagine, and I mean, you've got to think about this. We're again reading the Judeo-Christian creation myth, the creation story. If you imagine this, and you can imagine any way you want, this is just the way that my runaway brain, thinks about this. If you, and Jacob, I think I changed my mic, and that probably helped out. I may have also made a mistake as I was posting it on YouTube, so I apologize for those of you listening on YouTube. For those of you on Facebook, my phone should be picking up a good signal here. But again, we want to change the emotional imprint. So if you think about it, if you imagine a creator that is going to speak and light is going to burst forth in in response to the word that he speaks, how would he speak that word? Well, probably not jumping up and down, lighting his underwear on fire and waving a flag, right? Now, I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying that's probably not what he did. Let there be light, waving his flag. That's okay. I imagine it being body posture erect, if it was a person, right? Body posture erect, chin up, shoulders back. Spoken with energy and confidence. Let there be light. Spoken like a king. Spoken with a silent creative power. When you speak your affirmations, I now weigh 226.2 pounds. I now weigh 226.2 pounds, and my body is healthy. Spoken with silent energy. Now you can use two different kinds of energy to change your emotional state. And as you change your emotional state, you will have access to different parts of your brain. You'll have access to different parts of the neural network that relate to that same kind of energy. Here are a couple of strategies that have worked for me. Because again, it's not necessarily about the words you speak. It's about the emotional state that you create as a result of speaking the words. At least in my experience in working with myself and working with clients. Can you shift yourself out of doubt and into confidence? You can. Starts with the body posture. May start by putting on some powerful music, some Eye of the Tiger type music. For those of you that have worked with me, you know that I like a particular group called Audio Machine. They play this epic music, and with this modulating chromatic scale that builds and builds and builds in epic proportions. As you listen to that, the music itself will start to raise up your level of energy. It'll start to, I'll watch people in my office without any prompting. As they listen to the music, they'll stand, they'll roll their shoulders back, they'll sit up a little bit straighter, and they will start to speak with more confidence because the music is moving in them. Music, body posture, movement, short, punchy statements. Change your energy level. Shift from doubt to confidence. Can you shift from doubt to confidence? Just by changing your body posture, just by speaking different words? Yes, you can. Ice of Phoenix, that's right, Amazon Prime Music. It's awesome. It's my personal favorite track. It's the one that I speak my affirmations to in the morning. So if you guys have questions on affirmations, I'm going to pause for a minute. This is for my Facebook audience. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and type them in, and I'll do my best to answer them here. But let me give you a few more tips that I used in both transforming my relationship with my wife and in transforming my health. Okay, so now now, when you become all powerful and you hover over the surface of the deep and you speak, "Let there be light," you can go for big things. Okay, and if you have a lot of practice with affirmations, you might even start with something really, really big. But for most of us, our ability to shift our energy level depends a lot on what I call chunking. Okay, and chunking is a word that we use in my field to describe the size of the change that you're going for. If you're going for massive, you've really got to generate a lot of energy to be able to generate a belief state in yourself. If you break a massive goal down to the very next step, it will, for most people, reduce the amount of internal resistance. And we're not after generating internal resistance. We are after generating a change in energy. And that corresponding change in energy is in itself a wave of light that creates. And if you want to try it out, you can do that. That's the metaphor I have. I don't know that that's literally what it is. Maybe it's something else. I've had people explain it in all sorts of ways, from scientific to woo-woo, and I just go with it feels like a wave of light. Let there be light coming off the body. So you notice that when I started doing my weight loss goals, I did not claim I wanted to go down into my high school weight. But I didn't start claiming 180 was right after high school right away. 175 is where I was my senior year. I did get down to that, but now I sit in the 180s, which is where I feel real comfortable. Maybe I'll try to dip down a little bit. But what I'm really going for still is washboard abs. I'm not completely there. I think I might have to cut chocolate out of my diet to do that, and we'll see. We'll see. I am going to get there sooner or later. Okay, still claiming that one, but when you go for like a weight goal, for example, I found this helpful with a lot of my clients, and that is to chunk it down into a single pound. If you're going for a relationship goal, if the ultimate vision, the big vision, is to go for a total change in your marriage, for example. Claiming a healthy marriage is fine if your emotional state raises and it changes your energetic state. But if, on the other hand, by talking about, big marriage, you find a lot of negative self-talk come up afterwards, or if you find your energy shrinking down or collapsing, then you actually want to chunk that goal down and make it something more believable to you, because the active creative principle here is raising up your energy level and raising up your faith. So for a lot of people, so again, take the relationship. Maybe it's too much to claim that your marriage is healthy if it's not. Maybe what you need to claim is that you are now a good listener, and that you are capable of listening. And again, I'm going between two cameras for those of you that just came on. I am capable of listening with full presence of attention to my partner or my spouse. And that may be the first thing that you do. Or today, I now choose to be fully present with my 15-year-old son. When he speaks, I listen. Right? Now, if I want to raise my energy level, I also make myself big, get my body posture big. Power postures. Amy Cuddy out of Harvard has done a lot of study around this. You change your emotional state just by holding your body erect and powerful. Right? I am a good listener. When my son speaks today, I am fully present. I am becoming the father I've always wanted to be. Boom, right? Okay, so we've got a question here. And so we've got chunking now added into the mix. We've got, I think Yukiko is how you pronounce that. And if I've got that wrong, I apologize. I'm reading off Facebook here. She says, such a great gift this afternoon to listen to William Wood live on Facebook. Is affirmation more powerful when we recreate it fresh each time, or when we speak it like an actor would do on stage, as opposed to just reciting a memorized statement or reading from what has been written? This is a great question. Thank you for asking the question. I should probably scroll through and look and see if I've got any more questions. I think the answer is no. Okay, so I think that's what I've got. So here's the key thing, Yukiko. When you're doing affirmations, My experience is that the words themselves are much less important than the energy that they create, or the change in emotional state that they create as you speak them. As your energy level rises, you will have access to more resourceful parts of your brain. And so and part of your neural network. So what we're really looking to do is we're looking to speak words that raise your energy level. As your energy level raises, you are going to notice that your beliefs naturally will shift while your energy stays high. So for me, what I tell my clients is, and there's a couple different things. We're going to talk about belief change here in just a minute, and we'll also talk about energy level. In general, the first thing that I'm after with a client is I am looking at getting them to speak in such a way that they raise up their natural energy level. When they do that, Yukiko, what I'll find for somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour, sometimes up to 2 hours, my client is in a totally different headspace because they have boosted their energy by speaking boldly and confidently. And that means the body posture, and that means that the volume that they use, the music that they use, are more important than the words themselves that they're speaking. So now what I would ask you, and this is a turnaround question, I want a response here in the Facebook comments, is when you do affirmations, do you find that your energy raises more with a memorized script? Does it raise more if you kind of freestyle it? Or does it raise more if you've got, something you're reading from? And there's no right or wrong answer, but what actually works for you. And so if you were a client in my office, Yukiko, what I would ask you is what generates the biggest energetic shift or the biggest change in your emotional state? And if reading is the answer to that, then I would say that reading is the most effective for you. If, on the other hand, doing them freestyle is the thing that generates the biggest energetic shift, that is going to give you the biggest access to the most resourceful parts of your brain. Because I don't know that our words have the same kind of creative power that God's words have, right? If I'm a Christian, if you're a believer, God speaks, the universe forms, right? I'm not God. And so I think that what's creating for me, or what's generating the creation activity, is raising up my own energetic level and having access to a new part of my neural net. Okay, so we've got a few answers here. So we've got David. I'm looking at comments here. David is saying doing a freestyle. Yukiko says, awesome, William. Absolutely freestyle. Energy is alive. Words are instruments of energy. That's right. The energy matters. The words don't matter, Yukiko. You've got it. So for you, freestyle is going to be best. Jeff says, I usually listen to affirmations and repeat. That works really well, actually. One thing that I'll do is I will take affirmations that I want to do, and I will get myself in a really amped up emotional state, and I will record them into my phone, right? I was going to show you my phone here for those of you that are on YouTube, right? I'll put them on my phone. I'll plug in headphones and I will listen to them. And oftentimes, as I'm listening to them, I will repeat them. And there's music going, and maybe I'm walking, and that's a really powerful strategy. So Jacob Hunt says, freestyle is best for me. Shelly says a combination. James says freestyle. And Susan says freestyle. So for a lot of you, it's freestyle. Now I'm going to give you a couple of strategies, because again, if you're after the energetic shift, it's raising your emotional vibration. That makes the biggest difference. And so I think that the words matter less. The energetic state or the emotional state matters a lot more. Let's see. Shelly says, if I'm following a script, I really say it better with more conviction each time. That is true for certain people, Shelly. And so if that's true for you, that is the strategy that I would recommend for you. And so I don't follow rules, I follow big rules, not little rules. So I'm not going to box everybody into doing a freestyle. Like, I respond a lot better to freestyle, but I have clients that respond much better from reading from a script. What I ask, or how I ask them to measure it, is how does it affect your energetic state? How does it affect your emotions? Hey, Jacob, how you doing, man? Glad to have you. Yukiko says, for years I have been reciting century-old sutras and long mantras, but I felt some limitations as powerful as they are. Well, here's what I'd say is that sometimes those old mantras will really produce a powerful shift in people, and sometimes not so much. And again, it's the energetic shift that we're after. It is not the word. The magic itself is not in the specific word that we speak. The magic is in the energetic state that we achieve. Hang tight, let me grab a little drink here. Now, having said that, let's talk about belief change, and let's talk about how this relates to actually creating beliefs, new beliefs in people. I'm going to give you a simple 3-step belief change formula that works for me incredibly well. And I've taught this to lots of people. It's the simple version of what I teach on my CD. Again, you can buy the CD by clicking on the link, and we'll deliver that to you in the CD format or an MP3 format, depending on where you live and how you want it. And that's 55 minutes of training and affirmations. It's one of the best trainings and affirmations I've seen anywhere. It's absolutely phenomenal and will help you use your words as powerful creative agents. So, so changing beliefs, 3 phases. First phase is identify the negative head chatter that's going on. Maybe you've got a vision board and you're looking at a vision board, and as you look at the vision board, you start to get some negative self-talk. Maybe in your deep, dark moments, you've got some negative self-talk coming on. Yep, thanks, Jacob. Appreciate you posting that up there. If that link doesn't work, you might need to get rid of the last slash, but I think that is the link right there. The last / sometimes sends it somewhere else. I'm not sure. I'm trying to fix that. But if you want to change a belief, you first recognize what you're doing. So what I do is I actually have a little notepad, and I'll show you one of the ones that I'm carrying around today. Okay, I actually need to flip this over because I've got client stuff on it. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, so I take just a simple notepad like this. I mean, you can go down to Office Max, or you can go down to almost any store, and you can, buy a whole thing of legal pads for $1 or $2. I mean, it doesn't cost that much. I think I bought, 5 legal pads for like $3 to $5, super cheap. You take something literally this simple and you carry it around with you. And if you notice that you have a recurring negative thought that continues to come up, you jot it down. So the first step is to recognize it and to capture it. So you're going to capture that belief by writing it down. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to flip it around, and you're going to turn that belief statement around in such a way that it creates a new statement that deeply resonates with you. Now, the easiest way to do this is just to turn it around. If the thought is something like, I'm not good enough, you can turn that thought around to something like, I am good enough. Now, again, if that's too big a logical leap, and your brain's like, that's total BS, you don't believe that, then you might need to chunk it down into something like, I'm becoming a better person, or today I'm going to be totally and completely present, or I am focused in on this moment, this breath, the now, something like that. And however you want to, hey, yeah, that's right, Lee Mackey, I'm preaching it, brother, man, I've been quoting from the Bible, right? And I appreciate those of you that aren't Christian that are still hanging out with me, even though I did that. But we're talking about powerful creative principles. So you can do these turnaround statements. So step 1, capture the limiting belief. Step 2, turn it around. Step 3, repeat. One of the ways that you reach the deep subconscious mind is through repetition. And let me just draw something out that I think will make a lot of sense to a lot of you here. And this is, the question is how do you get an idea into the subconscious mind? Let me just go ahead and draw this out. Here, let's take just a quick second. At one point in my career, I wanted to be a cartoonist. And it wasn't ever a serious long-term thing, but it was just kind of, I think I was inspired by Bill Watterson, the Calvin and Hobbes guy. You will see here in a moment why I have made my career in personal development and not as a cartoonist. Okay, so we're just going to draw happy dude here. We're going to draw a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Okay, so this is a person. In case you don't know, this is a person that we're dealing with. And this is the conscious mind. This is the subconscious mind. And yeah, the word becoming makes it a lot more gentle. And there's a lot of other ways to kind of soften soften the affirmation a little bit. But this is the conscious mind, this is the subconscious mind. What happens to people as they're using affirmation-based strategies to change beliefs is, and I'm going to draw this out so it makes a lot of sense to you. What'll happen is, in the beginning, you have a certain thought that exists both in the conscious mind and in the subconscious mind. So for example, you're sitting there and your belief is, I'm not good enough. Just earlier today, I was working with several clients and this belief came up with several of them. I'm not good enough. It's one of the most common limiting beliefs that shows up, especially as people are struggling with problems. They'll start to have major self-worth issues, and this thought probably crops up for 80–90% of the people that I've ever worked with. So deep in the subconscious mind, there's a belief, I'm not good enough. Now, maybe that belief is there because they're hooked into a habit that they shouldn't be doing. Maybe that belief is there because an adult programmed it into them. Maybe they've been beaten down by life. Maybe they lost their house. Maybe they lost a job. Maybe some kind of circumstance changed, and they've got this belief in the subconscious mind, I'm not good enough. Well, the belief also starts to show up in conscious mind activity, especially in self-talk. And so you'll see people, yeah, cognitive psych stick person. You got it, Yukika. That's awesome. Okay. So you've got this belief showing up in the subconscious, but you've also got it showing up in the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is showing up by repeating the belief. So the subconscious mind sends up a feeling, I'm not good enough. The conscious mind verbalizes it and says something like, I'm not good enough. So now both in the conscious mind and in the subconscious mind, you have got a limiting belief. So if you follow my formula and you recognize it, the first thing you do is you write it down. You write down, I am not good enough. And you want to create a new self-image. And so what you do is you change the belief. And let's say that in this case, you just flip it right around and you say, I am good enough. Now, I think there's more we could do, but you know, we've only got so much time, right? So I am good enough. And so we've got our new belief statement. And we start to repeat it. We start to verbalize it. And as we verbalize it, we work on raising up our energetic space so that we are radiating love and light as we're making the new statement. And the first thing that happens is that we will tap in to a different part of our neural network, and we will start to have access to a new layer of thoughts. And so a lot of people, just as they change their body posture, they change their breathing, they change perhaps their volume or the music they're listening to, and they're stating their new statement, they're going to start to have access to all sorts of new thoughts. And what will happen is that one of two things will happen. Either this thinking will fade into the background, but it's still there, or it will start to shift and change. Usually, as it changes, what will happen is the first thing that happens is it is not a subconscious mind change, but it is a conscious mind change that will take place first. And you'll see this because the person with their mouth will be claiming the new belief, which is a good first start, but in their behavior, they're still doing things that belong to the old belief. And you'll watch people flip in and out of, these behaviors that are associated with the old belief, I'm not good enough. And so if people only use affirmations once, they will find that the subconscious mind never fully buys in. But to be fair, the change never made it down into the subconscious mind. And to truly change a subconscious belief, to truly change a limiting belief, it requires more than one repetition. It's kind of like showering, right? You don't shower once and then not stink for the rest of your life. You got to shower over and hopefully you got to shower over and over and over again. You got to shower at least once a month, right? I mean, or okay, once a week, right? Once a week to get kind of clean, and maybe once a day if you want your loved ones to hang around you, right? So affirmations or creative verbal statements work the same way. If you really want to change, especially a deeply entrenched negative belief, you've got to repeat it more than once, just like you got to shower more than once. And so you might ask, Will, are you telling me that I need to brainwash myself by repeating something? Well, your brain probably needs some washing, right? And so I'm saying, yeah, you should shower your brain just like you shower your body, and you should clean your brain, and you can do that by changing your language, changing your body posture, and aiming that at a powerful positive change. But if you want to reach the subconscious mind, my experience is that you are going to have to change with frequency the type of speech that you speak. How long does it take to speak a new thought before, excuse me, my nose itches here, before it starts to affect a deep change at the subconscious level? Some of the cognitive research that I've reviewed shows that in as little as 4 repetitions, you can start to build a new neural pathway. A neural pathway is a linking of neurons. And you can think of a belief or a belief statement as being a connection of neurons. So the research shows in as little as 4 repetitions, you can start to create these neuro associations. Now, are you done? Well, if you have a really deeply entrenched negative belief, you probably have not completely changed that neural pathway in 4 statements. That's unlikely to happen. Not with this strategy. That's not the way it works. If you want to build a new road or a new pathway in the brain, you're going to need some repetition. And the question I would ask you as a counter to the question is, how long did it take you to, how long has it taken you? How many times have you reinforced your old limiting beliefs? Some people will speak to themselves, I'm not good enough, and they will say that to themselves for like 40 years. And so what I would say, multiple times a day, and so I would say you want to repeat the new statement of life over and over and over again. Yukiko says that on some days, with every breath she takes. I do a meditation practice where I will repeat key words and key phrases, and I will repeat them over and over and over and over again. There have been beliefs that I have shifted successfully in as little as 20 or 30 days just with an affirmation-based strategy. So affirmations I like the creative power of the word to change beliefs for one simple reason. It's really easy to do, and it's something I can do at home. Now, what if I had to repeat it 10,000 times? I had an old belief that I was not a very good leader. This is years ago. It really started when I was about 13. I don't know if he's online here or not, but one of my Facebook friends from when I was a kid will remember this, but I was a senior patrol leader when I was like 13 or 14 years old. I was a Boy Scout. I was kind of a punk kid, and I was just learning the leadership ropes. And so what happened is that I think we were off at a Boy Scout camp, and at the Boy Scout camp, I was in charge of like assigning different duties to the young men that were part of that group, and so I had assigned chores to the troop, and most of the troop went merrily about helping out with the campsite, and I had assigned kitchen duty to one young man there, and he had said no, and so I was physically pretty strong, and so I did something that a leader shouldn't do, and that is I tried to force him to make that change. And so I'm 13, 14 years old, maybe I was 15, I don't know, I was young teenager. And I grabbed this kid and I picked him up, used a wrestling move, I slammed him down on the ground, and I pinned him and made him basically say uncle, right? No serious damage done, but like made him say uncle until he agreed to do his chores. Well, of course, what happened, right? I let him up from being pinned. He throws a rock at me or throws a stick, and then he swears at me, and then he dashes off into the mountains, and the leaders have to go chase him down. And who got in trouble? Did he get in trouble for not doing kitchen duty? Not really. I got in trouble for being a bad leader. And so I had these Boy Scout leaders that were saying then, you're a bad leader. You really shouldn't be. And really what they were saying is you shouldn't manhandle people in your troop to try to get them to do kitchen duty, right? Which is true, which is absolutely true. But what's interesting is I took that on as a belief, like I'm not a very good leader. And then when I was a little bit older, I took that on as a deeper belief, and I formed a belief by the time I was about 21 or 22 that I was good with small groups of people, but I was not good with large groups of people. Really interesting belief. And so this is like by my early to mid 20s, I've now got a fairly entrenched belief, like I'm not a good leader. Well, that's just BS. I'm not even old enough to make that, distinction in life. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really came around to realizing that I had this deep limiting belief inside of myself. I didn't even recognize it. What would happen is I would like find myself shying away from or avoiding leadership positions up into my like early to mid 30s. I think I was about 30, like 34, 35 when I finally figured this out. And there I was, and I started thinking about it, and I deeply looked at the belief. First thing I did is I captured it, right? We're back to the graph. And this X-type thinking that I had was saying you're not a good leader, and it really was coming from like manhandling a kid in the troop at 13, and then some subsequent experiences of trying to manage larger groups and not really knowing what I was doing, and learning from that process. And I looked at it and I backed up and I did this step one, and I was like, well, this is dumb. I looked at the belief, but my heart still told me it was true. And in my subconscious behavior, I was still finding myself doing things like avoidance behaviors and shying away from active leadership positions. The behavior was entrenched at the subconscious level. But I had a decision to make. It's like, did I want to believe that X-type thinking forever? Did I want to believe I'm not a leader and avoid leadership positions and avoid leadership situations and avoid stepping in to reaching out and influencing people? And the answer is no. And the entire belief started to flip around in the moment that I decided to believe something new. The belief flipped around when I turned the statement around, which is our second step. And I turned it around, and for me, it was as simple as changing the statement to, I am a leader. I never really spoke that one with incredible enthusiasm. Sometimes you guys see me jump up and down and yell and scream and things like that to raise my emotional state through what I call high amplitude energy. No, hang on, my computer is going to restart. If I disappear, you know what happened. Whoa, that was scary. Okay, yeah, my computer just said restarting, rebooting. Does anybody else have that happen? My secretary just lost her computer to an automatic restart. It restarted, it loaded Windows 10. I have a Mac, but it restarted with Windows 10, loaded Windows 10 on a computer that had like Windows 7 on it, totally fried the entire computer. She actually had to replace her computer yesterday. But for me, it was literally as easy as turning a statement around and starting to claim with good body posture, and with that silent, still energy, like the creator hovering over the surface of the deep, speaking, let there be light. I am a leader. And it was speaking. Yeah, Jeffrey Richards says that he had that happen during a Skype session with a client. Once is all it takes to make one really vigilant about it. Yeah, no kidding. I've lost like data and stuff I was typing and projects I was working on by not paying attention. So I'm glad that I caught that out of the corner of my eye there, Jeffrey. But it was literally turning the statement around and repeating it. And the leadership belief I had to repeat for the better part of a year. I had to repeat it for the better part of a year. Yukiko, I recommend avoiding Windows altogether and just getting a Mac. If you can, that's the best solution. But even a Mac will do it to you, because a Mac almost did it to me right there. But I had to repeat the leadership belief almost a year before I really started to feel, when I wasn't stating it, that the belief was true. A year. Would you work on a belief a year? Now, I could have gone into a coach, I could have gone into an NLP practitioner, I could have gone into a hypnotist, and maybe I could have gotten through that a lot quicker. But here's the cool thing about the creative power of the word. You can do it at home. And so each and every day for a year, it was change the body posture, get real big, do an Amy Cuddy, right? Get into a power posture, and then to say, I am a leader, and listen to powerful music. Eventually, I added another line into my affirmations. And so Yukiko, this is one that I actually memorized, and this is one that I repeated, and I have repeated this one now, oh man, I don't even know, thousands of times. I didn't add this until about last year, but thousands of times I have repeated this. I'm going to give you the affirmation, and this is part of what helped me shift my leadership belief. But notice that this has no words about leadership in it. This is the statement. And I'm going to actually show you how I do it here. I'm going to back up. I'm going to get nice and powerful. Hopefully you guys can see me. Let me adjust my YouTube mic since we got the two mics going. I'll try to make eye contact with both you guys here. So I get in my power posture, right? And for me, I do usually what's been called the Wonder Woman or the Superman, right? It's like the chest up, chin up, shoulders back, looking into the distance as you're contemplating apple pie in the American way. I'll get some music pumping, and then what I will state as I do that is I state just like this. Let me just get into state here. I am a master of influence. Every word that I speak inspires, uplifts, and breathes life into those around me. And that's about how I do it. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, but you'll notice a couple of things. I get in a nice, powerful posture. I stand up straight. I deliver a short and punchy statement, let there be light. And then I hold the body posture, and then I slowly return. And I've done that thousands of times. Now today, the proof is in the pudding. Today, not only am I a leader, my words have been heard in 64 countries. I have spoken in North and South America. I am not only an influencer over people with moderate influence, but if you were to look at my client book, and I can't share it with you, you would see people who have influenced not only 10,000 people in their sphere of influence. You will see people who have influenced hundreds of thousands of people. That through my direct influence, I have influenced hundreds of thousands of people because I've lived. By shifting a simple belief, and it's not just one. You will find one that's influenced disproportionately more. I have one client that has impacted hundreds of thousands alone. But also, you're going to find even out of my local clients, you will find people who have impacted tens of thousands of people through their direct activity. Because I was willing to repeat an idea, a simple idea, I am a leader. Eventually, I was able to hold both thoughts in my head. I am a leader, I am not a leader, and I am a leader. Then, the second thing that happened is consciously, I held the belief I am a leader. And when I consciously paid attention to it, when I consciously gave it energy, I could take new action. If I wasn't consciously paying attention to it, old behaviors would surface because the subconscious belief hadn't changed. But through repetition, there came a moment when the subconscious mind believed both things. It both believed that I wasn't a leader and that I was. And as I firmly established a new neural pathway, today where I stand, a new belief has completely taken hold and my behaviors have completely shifted and changed. The new belief, both consciously and subconsciously, at every level of who I am, when I am asleep, when I am awake, when I am in a private conversation, and when I am in public, the new belief has taken hold. And so my question for you here today, because we're at the hour mark and I promised I'd keep this under an hour, I'm just over, is what is it that you need to create in your life? Do you need to create deeper relationships? Do you need to create a more healthful body? Do you need to create a broader base of influence? Do you need to create a deeper and lasting impact on your children? What is it that you need to create? You can change what you are creating in your life by changing your energy level first, to rise up and to feel powerful and strong and capable. And as you access a higher emotional state, you will have access to different parts of your neural net. The second thing you can do is you can shift and change beliefs. And what I would call you to do is I would call you to step into your power, to step into your own capability, and to change. Not just for you, but to change for all the people around you that are relying upon you to make a change. This is for my Facebook audience. I'm speaking to you. I'm talking to YouTube here in just a minute. Okay, I'm coming back to you. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I got something for you too. But for my Facebook audience, look at me. There is a spark of life inside of you. And there is somebody in your immediate sphere of influence that is depending on you to change. Maybe it's somebody you know. It might even be somebody that you don't yet know that will be coming in to your sphere of influence soon. My question for you is, will you change? It's possible. It might take you a full year like it did me to change that belief that's been holding you back. It might only take you a few days, but it's worth starting, isn't it? Okay, for my YouTube viewers, there is a light inside of you. There is a light that the world needs to see. And I'm going to ask you to raise up your emotional state, to step into more powerful places, to light up your brain in a way that creates new possibilities. And to find and change those beliefs that will allow you to create a wave of light in your life. Because every word that you speak has a creative force. It has a creative force that is just as powerful as the words that we read in the beginning. And with your words, you can create life and you can destroy the people around you. And I'm going to ask you to use your words both creatively and destructively to create new beliefs, and through the creation of new neural pathways, also destroying the old hold that limiting beliefs have held upon you for so long. If you need help with that, I would love to help. It's what I do. And one of the ways to do this is to come back. Let me just give you the date again. Every week, I'm committed to teach. I'm going to teach both on Facebook and YouTube. I got to figure out how to set up my cameras so that they're right next to each other or something, so I don't have to look up and down. But next Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern time, I'll be back on Facebook. I'll be back on YouTube, wherever it is that you're seeing me right now. And I'm going to be sharing some more ideas. Next week, I'm going to be talking about what I call, I didn't name this. I may think of a clever term over the next week, but it's called segment intending. It is setting an intention, not a big intention for your whole life or for your whole year, but setting a little intention for the very next thing that you're doing. And I'm going to talk about the power of consciously creating what it is that you want by setting an intention segment by segment throughout the day. That'll be next Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You're welcome to join me back here. It'll be around an hour. And hey, Paul, good to see you, brother. Glad you're here. We're just getting ready to wind up here. But also, if you need more help, you're welcome to call the office. You can call the office at 801-203-3405. You can book a session with Vicki. You can also buy the Word CD. And I think the link is in the description on Facebook. You can find that description right there. It's a 55-minute training on how to use your words creatively to change your life. There's more training inside of there that's absolutely fantastic. And also, you can you can just keep on tuning into this free stuff that I'm doing. So however you connect with me, whether you book a private session, whether you buy the CD, or whether you keep on coming to the free stuff, keep on coming back around. I want to help you unlock your greatness. With that, I'm going to say goodbye. For those of you that are on your way to Nashville, I will see you here in Nashville here shortly. I'm actually about ready to go jump on a plane like immediately and go do that now. So love you guys. I just wanted to thank you for coming in and spending some time and hanging out with me for a few minutes here today. We'll talk soon.